IndyCar is brought to you on Eurosport by Firestone and Valvoline.
Well, good evening, welcome to Eurosport. This is Detroit, the 8th round of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the ITT Automotive Grand Prix, the 7th time IndyCars have taken to the streets in the Michigan City, here on the banks of the Detroit River. Here's the point standings after 7 of 17 races. Jacques Villeneuve winning the Indy 500 to take that massive lead ahead of Robbie Gordon. But what a weekend this has been for Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon, the man who's second in the points. He hit the wall on Friday in qualifying, but later took provisional pole. Let's have a look back at that moment. Oh, it's a big impact. And then on Saturday during qualifying, he was in trouble again. He spun coming out of the pits on cold tyres, and as he was spinning, he took out Michael Andretti, cutting short his efforts to extend Team Newman-Haas's streak of pole positions at Detroit to 7 in a row. Here was the moment. Behind him, out of sight, was Andretti. Let's see it from Andretti's point of view. Well, neither car too badly damaged. Unfortunately for Gordon, no one else could match his Friday qualifying. His time was good enough to earn him his 4th career pole. Well, Andretti's teammate Paul Tracy was another one unable to extend that streak. He spun late in Saturday's qualifying. The Detroit track is famous for being so narrow and slippery. This was last year when the race was marked by several accidents. Paul Tracy, in the midst of it, he rear-ended his then Penske teammate Al Unser out of the lead and into the tyres. Nigel Mansell and Jacques Villeneuve nearly had a coming together in the pits, and later Mansell, trying to avoid Fittipaldi, locked up his brakes and went deep into the tyre wall. Well, when all the excitement was over, Paul Tracy took the victory for his native Canada. Well, the Brazilians in Detroit have had a great history here since 1984 when Nelson Piquet won in Formula One, Ayrton Senna, all those years also. Now it's a big day for the Brazilians because it's just been announced that next year there's going to be a race in Brazil at the new Nelson Piquet International Raceway. A 2-kilometer oval is going to be built in Rio de Janeiro. And there's the calendar out already. There's that first race in Miami, then Rio de Janeiro added to the calendar. Well, stay tuned for the Detroit Grand Prix after this break. Ready to welcome back to IndyCars, welcome back to Detroit. This is Mark Cole looking at the cars on their warming up lap. This is Detroit and this is Motor City, 8th round of the PPG IndyCar World Series. The 7th time the cars have been on the streets of the Michigan City. 500 miles upstream from Montreal, where just half an hour ago, Jean Alesi won the Canadian Grand Prix, which also took place this afternoon. And as befits its place in the history of the motor car, downtown Detroit hosted no less than 7 Formula One Grand Prix and 3 IndyCar races before moving to this track, the Belle Isle site in 1992, where Bobby Rahal, Danny Sullivan and Paul Tracy took the 3 wins to date. But Detroit qualifying had always been Newman-Haas territory. As you just heard, Michael Andretti 4 poles, Nigel Mansell 2, until Robbie Gordon broke their duck with pole this weekend despite crashing Friday, Saturday and this morning, Sunday. Alongside him, Al Unser Jr., second row, Theo Fabi and Paul Tracy. Third row of the grid, Scott Pruitt and Michael Andretti. Well, Scott Pruitt still looking for that first ever win after 64 races. Michael Andretti, 29 wins after 168 races, but no luck this year. Second only at Phoenix. Adrian Fernandez and Bobby Rahal. Both those men looking to improve on their races. Bobby Rahal's best this year, second in Australia. Jacques Villeneuve, the man who won Miami this year and the Indy 500. The man that Ferrari and McLaren are out chasing, and Danny Sullivan alongside him. Maurizio Gugelmin of Brazil, Stefan Johansson of Sweden. They're next up. Christian Fittipaldi, Jimmy Vasser. These Brazilians getting everywhere now. Then Raul Bazal, Gil de Ferran, another all-Brazilian row, Emerson Fittipaldi, Brown Herter, Andre Ribeiro, Eddie Cheever, Marco Greco, Sam Pedri, Christian Danner, fresh from his Helsinki win last weekend in the International Touring Cars. Alicio Salazar, Eric Bachelard, Hiro Matsushita, Parker Johnson and Carlos Guerrero completing the grid. Well, what a season it's been so far. Only 2 drivers have won more than 1 race. Paul Tracy at Surfers Paradise and Milwaukee just last Sunday. And as we said a moment ago, Canadian Jacques Villeneuve in Miami. And then spectacularly in the Indy 500 at his second only attempt, moving into that championship lead. Well, other winners have been Al Unser Jr. at Long Beach, Emerson Fittipaldi at Nazareth, and Robbie Gordon in Phoenix this year. Well, this track here, very impressive circuit built on the Belle Isle Island here in the middle of the St. Lawrence Seaway. 77 laps ahead of them. It's 161.7 miles this race, and it is a very tight corner, very unrelenting, a lot of concrete walls as the field wends its way round on the third of its warm-up laps. Overcast, no sun, but no threat of rain today. Well, there is confirmation of the race length. There's the race record, last year's winner Paul Tracy, and they're expecting to stop for fuel on the 15th and 30th laps. First time. Let's have a look at the way the nations have lined up this year on points, from 112 going to the United States, 108 to Canada thanks to Villeneuve, Brazil 94, 43 and 22 down to Sweden there, and all the way down to 16th to that one Mexican, Adrian Fernandez. And the manufacturers line up, well, Ford Cosworth, not Mercedes, leading the series at the moment, with Honda a very low third indeed. So Ford running away. Well, the stories you're going to hear about in the race today, a very bumpy, rough track here on this Detroit island, affected by the weather, just as the Montreal circuit is. Michael Andretti's frustration, no wins this year, and of course then the challenge in passing other runners on the street circuits. This is what makes this race so special. Then finally, Goodyear versus Firestone. Well, the field wending round, Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. there, holding the whole pack in check. Theo Fabi and Paul Tracy. Scott Pruitt, Michael Andretti, Adrian Fernandez and Bobby Rahal there. So Theo Fabi, a man we're looking at, managed 106 races, 5 wins, third in Long Beach this year, finished 4th here, 89 and 94. Well, we're going to be joining our American team in a moment. Paul Page, Bobby Unser and Sam Posey, who are on site in Detroit. Meanwhile, the rolling laps coming towards their end. They're under starters' orders. The lights are ready. Pace cars about to pull off the track. So let's go over and join our All-American commentary team. Paul Page, Bobby Unser and Sam Posey.
He rolls slow on the course, and they run toward the green flag. Green flag is out. Here we go. Robbie Gordon darts into the front. Al Unser Jr. is challenged by Paul Tracy. Tracy moves into second place.
Boy, what a pass by Tracy, Paul. On the outside going in. Showed a little out. Wasn't quite ready at that turn.
Field cleanly through at the start. Michael Andretti comes up, drops into 4th place. Working lap number 1. And look at Paul Tracy, boy, as he jumps all over the back end of Robbie Gordon's car. Now tries to cut inside in a corner. Al Unser Jr. lined up in 3rd. Michael Andretti 4th. And the yellow flag has come out at the start line. Yellow flag, twin yellow flags. That means that a full course yellow will come into effect immediately. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Paul, let's update you on the problem with Raul Boisel. This full course caution is beneficial for him. He's going to come onto pit road. They are going to make a complete change of the electronics. That includes the battery, the brain box, all of it. You can see it coming out of the box now. It'll be a complete replacement under yellow flag conditions.
And of course, the full course yellow is for Raul because he was in a precarious position on the course. They'll get him out of there, and then we'll go racing again on Belle Isle. Back at the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix. While we were under this full course caution, this is the view out the back of Brian Herta's car. Look at the smoke and the sparks, because as he came into the pits just a few moments ago, he had a pretty good fire going under the left side. There it is. Bobby, has that oil on the headers?
Yes, it looks like it's probably an oil line that's been leaking, got everything burning. He's burning all the stuff that could burn, like hoses, carbon fiber, stuff like that. Not a dangerous situation.
So back on the course, the green flag comes out. Robbie Gordon, the leader once again, but Paul Tracy, remember his challenge on the first half lap that we ran under green?
We're just a turn away from where Robbie Gordon had his throttle stick earlier this morning, went off into the tire barriers. He gets by fine this time.
Remember, these cars don't really settle down good till they get their tires warm. They have to be up to temperature. You can see Robbie coming off, tweaking the rear end out a little bit. That'll settle down a little bit pretty soon.
So it's Robbie fouled by Michael. You saw Scott Pruitt dart to the inside there as he tried to challenge and tried to come up through the field. Pruitt trying to challenge Teo Fabi, but he drops back behind him. That's Rahal just behind Pruitt. And once again, it's Paul Tracy that's doing everything he can to challenge Robbie Gordon.
He realizes it's a lot easier to pass early on. It's very difficult to pass later on. When the guys get used to the track, it's really difficult at this point.
Also listening to Jack's concern about tires and his question and his report on the Newman Haas team. Is it also easier to get the passes done now while the tires are real sharp?
Oh, for certain, sure, Paul. I mean, it's always easier to do that. And that's the reason we saw Paul Tracy take so many chances right at the start. It was worth it to him.
Gordon has gone off the road and damaged the car each of the 3 days that we've been here so far.
Look back for a second. In second place, Paul Tracy. Allenser Jr. is right behind him. Then Michael, then Teo Fabi, then Scott Pruitt, and Bobby Rahal. It's like a brush of the wall there. And that's the problem. This is Paul Tracy.
Here comes Robbie Gordon through first in the blue and white car. Here's Tracy oversteering through that turn. I don't believe he hit it.
Didn't actually get the wall, but he sure got close.
He didn't hit it, but what he did, Troops, he got the rear end out, and that's what it made it. Got the rear end out going in under braking. The rear end looked like it was coming around. The front end almost hit the wall because of it.
When Paul Tracy climbed into his cockpit on Friday morning, the team had taped something on the steering wheel that said Supernova, and then there was a definition of what that meant. Brighter, a star brighter even than the sun. That's what they think of him, that he is a supernova.
And I'll tell you what, it's that driving style where he cuts it so close that makes him so exciting to watch. Brown running in second place. Another exciting driver is the man at point right now, Robbie Gordon.
3 different chassis in the first 3 positions right now, Renard, Lola, and Penske.
This morning, as you mentioned with Robbie Gordon, he had a throttle stick part of the way open, not all the way open. Part of the way, went into the tires. I went down and talked to Derek Walker about it, saw what the problem was. It's a very abnormal, rare thing to happen. Not his problem at all, and it's fixed.
As we continue to track the battle for the lead, let's go pit side, see what the update on Raul Boesel is, Jack.
Well, it's not a good update. What was first thought to be electronics, when the bonnet came off, Raul, a hole in a broken motor.
Yeah, it's a shame. This morning, my Duracell Lola was the fastest. We improved a lot from yesterday. I was looking forward for the race, and you know, it's unexpected.
Unexpected problems, teething problems with this edition of the Mercedes-Benz engine as well for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it is. You know, Mercedes is doing a great job trying to improve the engine all the time. I think, you know, this is one of those things that nobody knew or nobody know why it happened.
Well, the first DNF here. Let's get a report on another potential DNF with Lynn St. James.
Yes, Jack, another disappointed driver and team. Brian Herta and Ganassi, they had that fire right there early on in the race, and it was actually a wastegate that had broken loose and caused the fire. Very disappointing for another team.
All right, so Brian Herta and Raul Boesel, first 2 retirees here in the very early going, while Paul Tracy continues to do everything he can to catch Robbie Gordon. Allenser Jr. sits there in third with Michael lined up just behind him. Michael from time to time does what he does right there. It just tuck out to the right side, kind of let little Al know that he is there. And Teo Fabi and Scott Pruitt are continuing to close down. Well, you can throw a blanket over the front of this field.
That's going to cause little Al to put more pressure on Paul Tracy, because if he doesn't do it, Michael's going to put it on him. They're too close without guys starting to do some serious passing pretty soon.
All strung together. Robbie Gordon, the leader. Look at Paul Tracy as he closes in. That's little Al right there in the center of the screen on you. Now over to the left of the screen. And Michael Andretti kind of close in. But look at Paul Tracy as he closes in once again on Robbie Gordon. Boy, that is a super battle. The Goodyear blimp Spirit of Akron is floating overhead, providing aerial views of the Detroit Grand Prix. Goodyear blimp has been flying over major events for 62 years. Into some great action coverage here. So continuing to track the front of the field, Robbie Gordon, Paul Tracy is right there, and look at how the front end is closed up again.
This is the exact situation that Bobby described at the outset of the show, which is it's very hard to pass here, but it is possible. Some one of these top 4 or 5 drivers is going to make a pass here in the next short period of time. I feel it in my bones, but it's going to be risky when it happens.
Also, Sam, the track is going to start getting slippery after a little while. They're scrubbing off the rubber that's on the track from the other races that have been run here this weekend. As soon as they get that cleaned off, the track is going to be more suited to these cars, and the guys are really going to start trying some hard, and I think sometimes dangerous passes.
Keep your eye on how rough the track surface is by watching one of the drivers' heads as we pan along with the cameras. You really get a feeling for the jarring they take, particularly right through there. That could affect Al Unser Jr., who you just saw go by. He has had some tendonitis in his left shoulder. I think it's going to be a tough race.
Wow, did you see Paul Tracy? He darts right, he darts left, and he can't get it done. Robbie Gordon right down the middle of the line.
There are so many turns here. Robbie wanted to pull over, or excuse me, Paul wanted to pull over past Robbie right, then he decided to left, but every time he'd pull out and look at the pass, there's another turn coming up already.
All right, the leader just ahead. Cummins on the rear wing. That is Robbie Gordon. Will ride right now with Paul Tracy, second place.
To take the lead. I think Paul understands now that he is a driver who will sometimes make a mistake, but he's reconciled that with the fact that by pushing hard the way he does race after race, he's also going to win his share.
So Paul Tracy is unable to make up any real appreciable distance in that pursuit. And look how the front of the field continues to stay right together.
What Paul's been doing is laying back just for a little bit, cooling things down just a little bit, maybe getting some more thoughts in his head, and then he takes another run at Robbie Gordon. Now here's little Al.
Oh, Al moves to the inside, takes advantage of a quick corner, gets around Paul Tracy. Boy, that's a shock to Paul.
Yeah, now what happened there was Tracy was totally concentrating on passing Robbie Gordon and not concentrating on his mirrors, and little Al just sat back and he says, now's the time. Totally caught him unaware.
That's another example of how often little Al makes a pass under braking too. He snuck by with a nice late break there. Beautiful move.
Now Paul Tracy has to contend with his teammate, Michael Andretti. Al Unser Jr. probably drives it deeper in the corner than anybody else in IndyCar racing right now. Leader is still Robbie Gordon, but now second place is Al Unser Jr. And he begins to worry Gordon while Michael begins to chase Tracy.
And back at the top of the screen there.
Look at little Al. Look at little Al. Al tries to get down on the inside of Gordon.
Now the problem right there is the track narrows up and makes a little last turn. You can see that little Al was there, but the track isn't going to stay wide. That's one of those places where it got widened, but it had to go back narrow.
All he needed was to be about 5 feet further forward, though, and then he'd own the track.
If it got all the way into the turn that wide, Paul, he'd have gone right on by Robbie Gordon, no question.
Great shot from overhead in our Honda Helios.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Look at that braking maneuver. Drops to the inside. He's got him. Al Unser Jr. goes to the lead.
Now there's a pass
off Paul Tracy last lap.
There's a place where you just don't hardly see any passes. So obviously, he's got his tires warmed up. He's happy with it, and now he's going for it.
Oh, Michael Andretti is up to challenge Robbie Gordon now. Paul Tracy apparently had to give way at the same time of that other pass, so Michael Andretti is around into third place.
Little Al rocketing by like that early in the race reminds me of Long Beach, a race he went on to dominate.
And you can see Robbie is holding up Michael Andretti and the whole train right now. Robbie is probably not working as good as he thought he was, or as he was earlier. There goes Michael.
Michael Andretti runs in second around Gordon.
And here comes
Tracy coming around Gordon. Dale Bobby gets caught up running behind Gordon, as does Scott Pruitt. Then Rahal, then Fernandez. Oh, look at this one as Tracy comes inside Gordon.
by Paul Tracy.
That's a dangerous pass. That's one of those we said, whoa, he lost the rear end coming out of that turn a little bit. Boy, they're starting to get serious right now.
Here's Bobby in the red and white car at the bottom of the screen. He's the next up to attack Gordon.
And he has to. There's no choice. There he goes.
Oh, whoa, gets the door slammed on him.
That's another thing. If he doesn't get in there all the way, the driver, like, for example, Robbie Gordon, won't see him coming, then there's going to be a tie, and that's what we call a wreck.
Bobby almost lost a slot to Scott Pruitt, the next red and white car. You can see it there in the middle of the screen. Scott Pruitt on the move.
And Rahal closes in as well. So that's the top, including Fernandez, 8 in the order, and they're all still right together. Battle continues at the front.
This is road racing at its very best. Perilous stuff. Look at that. Look at how close. Pruitt is right under the rear wing of Bobby.
Robbie Gordon is not working as good as he did early on. He's been holding up a lot of the fast cars.
There you see the interval. As you move back to Robbie Gordon from third place, Paul Tracy, and Teo Bobby now coming in on top of him.
This is a long, sweeping series of turns, first to the right, then the left, then left again, and then left again before they set up for a right. They're in a series of turns that takes them, 20 seconds to negotiate.
You can see the cement down there where it used to be asphalt last year. That's where it tore up so bad. When we just went over, we see the light gray, that's where the cement is.
The Sunset Boulevard on Belle Isle. They just made the turn off of. That's the northern leg of the Detroit River as it splits around Belle Isle here at Detroit.
Canada here actually lies to the south of the United States. Kind of an unusual situation.
Scott Pruitt trying to take advantage of the battle now between Teo Bobby and Robbie Gordon.
And keep in mind, Scott Pruitt is on the Firestone. That's a big difference.
Whoa, Gordon locks the brakes up, keeps the position. That might give you an idea of how desperate this drive has become for Gordon.
They've been passing Robbie Gordon going into the turns. His brake bounce is off just a little bit. When you see the tires light up in the front or smoke in the front, knock the rear, it means the bias is off just a little bit.
Back up at the front as Michael Andretti battles with Al Unser Jr. and Michael is right there across the line, just 2/10 behind. So Michael Andretti starts to take on, and look at Michael use up the brakes. Whoa, and Michael almost loses the back end.
You can't say he's not trying now, Paul.
Michael's given it everything he has. Al Unser Jr. has the advantage of a clear course ahead. But boy, what spectacular driving out of Michael.
Keep in mind, these two guys are so close together right now, but they are going to catch lap cars before too long. And that's when it's really going to get exciting.
Mike sticks his nose inside.
The trouble Michael had earlier in the season was with his brakes. He often was running well like this, and then he'd go long down an escape road. They've worked on those brakes in a test at Elkhart Lake. This will be the ultimate test in whether they have managed to make them work again.
That was especially his problem back at Long Beach. Twice he had brake problems that took him down escape roads.
And in case you're wondering why Michael is just trying so hard right now to get by little Al, it's just that he wants that clean air to run in. He realizes lap cars are coming up before too long. So the guy that's in the lead is going to have the best advantage.
Michael Andretti tries to close in. Not really a passing point. Just ahead of him now, we should see the first of the slower cars as they come up to begin lapping the field. Michael's pretty good in that kind of traffic. Whoa, look at Michael. He tries to get inside again. Boy, that was a risk.
In terms of all-time Indy wins, Al trails Michael 28-29. Eric Bachelard
into the tire barriers here. Tire barriers that throughout this weekend have given these race cars some remarkable protection.
Oh, this is
Here
close.
comes Michael. Michael's trying on the inside. Looks like he has the turn, but no. It's still led by Al Unser Jr.
But it also told little Al what Michael's doing, not just the mirrors. Remember, little Al can't watch the mirrors all the time. When Michael pokes his nose in there, that's the signal.
Remember, these are the two great second-generation drivers that have basically given us so many fantastic races over the last 10 years. It is vintage stuff to see them battle like this.
I think there's no question at this point, Bobby, as we come through the yellows, this is for Bachelard. And now they can go back to racing speed. But I think there's a solid indication that both Michael and Tracy are probably faster through much of this circuit than Al Unser Jr. is. So Al Unser Jr. still leads it. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
the Grand Prix magazine on Eurosport. All the latest from Formula One. Every Wednesday, a roundup of analysis and commentary of the weekend's Grand Prix. The teams, the drivers, the mechanics, the engineers, everything that makes the Grand Prix go.
Elf Fuel, world champion.
The Formula One Grand Prix magazine, Wednesday at 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Eurosport.
The ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix on Belle Isle in Detroit. And quite a bit has happened since we left you. You can't plan these kind of things. We are under a full course yellow. You saw Eric Bachelard as he ran off the course, and then shortly thereafter, apparently Eddie Cheever and Alessandro Zampedri got together. And let's take a look at what created that situation. Now watch the black car of Eddie Cheever. There he comes into frame with Zampedri climbing over the back end.
Whoa! Zampedri just carried his rear end around.
Oh, gee,
it would look like Zampedri ran over the top of him or got him in the back and couldn't get loose of him. Cheever kept slowing down, probably not because he even knew what was going on, Paul.
Now, just before this, Eric Bachelard got into trouble. You saw him sitting by the edge of the course. There he is moving to the inside. And he just gets the front right cut off and into the barrier. So these two situations brought out a full course yellow, and when we went full course, immediately everybody, with the exception of Emerson Fittipaldi and Andre Ribeiro and Christian Danner, headed for the pits. So the leaders have already been in and out of the pits, and there was quite a bit of action on the pit lane at the same time. So let's now go down and get a review of that action and begin with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, the window of opportunity was there for everybody. That's why they came all in like feeding time at the zoo on pit road. But when you have everybody coming in all at once, you can have some close quarters racing. This is the nose cone off of Mauricio Gugelmin's car. It was clipped on the right side as he tried to pull into his pit area. They've replaced the nose cone, and he is back out in competition. Just before the caution, we talked at the top of the show about the normal, the recommended tire compound for Goodyear, and how the Andretti's and the Tracy team had a graining problem. Well, Danny Sullivan pulled into the pits. One tire on the right side had picked up excessive rubber. The rest of the tires had that graining problem. So we're going to have to wait and see if more and more of the Goodyear guys take the lead in Newman Haas and go to the harder compound. Let's check in with Lynn St. James.
Okay.
Lynn, go ahead.
Yes, I'm down in Robbie Gordon's pit, and Robbie did change not only tires, but he also went to an alternative tire. He went now to the option tire, and you can see these are the tires that came off his car and how much graining there was. I know that Scott Pruitt, when he changed tires, he stayed with the same compound. They're stickers, but meaning that they've had no breaking in at all, and they're hoping that with the fact that they're running under yellow for a couple of laps, that'll be able to help scrub the tire in.
Boy, look at those tires, Bobby.
Now, what that is, what they mean by the graining, boy, look at the fluid come out of Ray Hall's car on the left side there. Now, the question is that fluid or is that water? But I started to mention about the tires that you saw the picture of there. That graining problem they're talking about is rubber rolling. Over the years, many years, we've had that same problem. And remember, the tire compounds are made up like chemists, scientists making up things. Here's Ray Hall coming in for obviously that leak in his left side. But what happens when the tire rolls? When the tires roll like that, or when the rubber rolls, there is no traction. But the rubber is fast until it doesn't, so they try to stick with it.
Yeah, and this is more serious. You heard Bobby Rahal shut the engine off as he rolled into the pits as well. He was up challenging in the top 5 throughout the early going here.
So that means it was water that came out, that we were seeing coming out the left side of his car.
Bobby Rahal of Dublin, Ohio. Of course, Raul Bosell, part of his team, so this whole team is out very early in the game. Bad day for them.
Bobby Rahal climbs out of the car, and the rest of the field circulates under the full course yellow with Al Unser Jr. out in front. Now, coming up next, Jeff Gordon and the hottest drivers in auto racing speed off to South Carolina. From Darlington Raceway, it's the second challenge in the International Race of Champions, right here after the conclusion of this run on Belle Isle, next on ABC Sports. So under the second full course yellow of the day, and Bobby Rahal appears to have suffered his third DNF of the year. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, this is the set of tires that came off your leader, Team Penske driver Al Unser Jr. But take a look at this tire here. You remember the close quarters racing you were calling for the lead when he and Michael Andretti charged into a corner together? There's the gouge that came out of the tire when they came into contact with each other. The yellow, very fortuitous for Al Unser Jr.
All right, so the tactics are split now as we take a look at where they were before they went into the pits, and Paul Tracy's team did a good piece of work for him, getting him ahead of Michael Andretti on the pit stop. Now, Emerson Fittipaldi hasn't gone into the pits, so that's a little bit misleading. He stayed out, one of two, the other being Andre Ribeiro, who currently runs in 6th place behind Robbie Gordon. So the Penske team has split their tactics as we're ready to go back to green. The leaders, Tracy and Al Unser Jr. got a jump on the field coming back to green.
Boy, I'll say everyone else seemed to be half asleep back there.
You have to do it. If the leader doesn't take off, I'm surprised that Michael didn't get on a little bit earlier. Not like Michael, but the leader has to get on it. Otherwise, second place is got him, and that's Tracy, who's really moving today.
You got a glimpse there of Scott Pruitt on the move as he darted inside. Also, Carlos Guerrero was able to move inside of Hero. Those moves back in the field as the top of the order is Unser, Tracy, Andretti, Fittipaldi, and Gordon.
Remember that the two leaders raced for the same team last year.
Look at Gugelman. Gugelman comes alongside Ribeiro.
There's a place where it narrows up, though. You see, he had no choice. He could get alongside, but the road narrows right up there.
Ribeiro doing a fine job in the Tasman car this year. Honda engine, Firestone tires, rookie driver. Good combination.
Just ahead of Ribeiro is Scott Pruitt, who was able, in fact, to get around him and move into 6th place, snatching 6th away from Ribeiro. Now Gugelman would like to take a position on him.
Gugelman had a very hot start and was in the championship hunt early in the year, but he has fallen steadily in terms of his placings. He hasn't had the good placings this part of the season that he had at the beginning.
And as you watch this, you need to be aware, we're looking at the serial scoring of Andre Ribeiro from the start, lap 4, lap 8, 12, and so on. While you see Gugelman in that, remember he had that confrontation in the pits that Jack reported, and as a result is not running on the lead lap, just trying to get back up through the field. Let's go pit side. Robbie Gordon, he's fallen back through the order, now in 5th. Lynn St. James, any idea what his problem is?
Well, right now they're saying basically it is tires, but you know, it has to do with the chassis setup. We got to be careful here that we're not just causing all this on tire wear. They take a certain chassis setup. They thought Robbie had oversteer, and now, of course, with the tire wear, he's got severe understeer. So that's what's going to cause the tires also to grain, is the fact that the cars go so much push. So it has a lot to do with balancing the chassis setup with the tires, and I don't think the Walker crew had that handled today.
Well, as we watch him right now, in fact, Scott Pruitt is lined up just behind him and really beginning to work him hard. That 2 car, the red and white car, is Emerson Fittipaldi running in 4th place just ahead of them.
It's been very tough driving this race for Robbie Gordon because, of course, he was on the pole and he's been passed by so many cars. I think he's shown great maturity in not letting the emotion of having been passed by so many guys get to him. He has made no mistake. He's driven very well in a car that obviously, as Lynn points out, may not be ideally suited to the conditions.
No major move down in the order below 7th place. Jack Villeneuve, within the first laps, was able to move up a single position and get around Fernandez. Teo Fabi rounds out the top 10. Bobby Rahal is out, and Jack Arute is with him.
Well, Paul, we talked about the altercation that took place with Mauricio Gugelmin. Well, Rahal was the other recipient, and it kind of tore your car up big time.
Yeah, we were pulling out, and I didn't really even see him. I just felt this thud on the right side or the left side of the car, and I was pulling out of the pits, and it just put a hole in the radiator, and so all the fluid's leaking out.
First account of how difficult it is to pass today out there. Do you really have to take a lot of chances, Bobby?
Well, it's if the car's working, and the other guy isn't, you can get a run at him. Of course, he doesn't have to move very far to keep you from passing. Blocking, there's some very novel lines out there right now, but it's tough. Pit work's going to make the difference.
The one thing they say, Paul, is the pit road is the widest place here at Detroit, and that's where you might have to make the pass for the win.
Bobby Rahal has more all-time starts than anybody else competing at this point, 203.
Yeah, that was also very interesting between the same team, the Carl Haas-Paul Newman team, between Tracy and Andretti. Andretti was in second. They both came in the pits. Tracy came out ahead, same pits, and beat Michael by quite a bit.
You saw earlier Eddie Cheever almost got run over by Alessandro Zampedri. Lynn St. James, any idea what happened there?
Well, we're here with Eddie Cheever, and he's going to tell us what he knows.
Well, the yellow had just come out. We were running like ducks in a row, everybody 1 inch behind the other. The yellow came out, and I went around, I think it's turn 4, turned into turn 5, and somebody just hit me in the back really hard. I think it was Zampedri. I don't know what he was thinking of. I have no idea whatsoever. Maybe he's colorblind. Maybe yellow is not one of his favorite colors.
Very disappointing and very sorry for you. I know you're going to get a win this year.
I'm getting tired of this.
Very eloquent.
Eddie Cheever has such a good way of putting those things like that. He's very mad. He feels that Zampedri just ran right over the back of him, which incidentally we saw on the cameras, didn't we?
Yep, the video was fairly clear on that one. The only thing that we didn't look for, we may have seen, is the presence of the yellow flag in the middle of all that. Emerson Fittipaldi, he's 4th place. There's 5th place Robbie Gordon. Scott Pruitt right behind him. That battle for the moment is broken off, but could resume at any time. At the top of the order, of course, Al Unser Jr., followed by Paul Tracy and his Newman Haas teammate Michael Andretti.
The red and white car right to the left of your screen there, of course, is Emerson Fittipaldi right there. They're going by. The car looks like very much like Little Al, so sometimes you get it confused. The number 2 right there. Robbie Gordon right behind.
So Robbie Gordon, then Pruitt, then Ribeiro. Look at Pruitt close in. Pruitt still looking for any chance he can to get inside of Gordon.
He can't seem to get another line on Gordon, Paul.
Taking a look down from the Honda Helicam now on the long run around the casino. The old casino here, not active anymore. In fact, it serves as a media center and guest relations center here today at the track. Now around the hospitality area and then onto one of the faster straights. So here, it's Paul Tracy chasing Al Unser Jr. for the lead, followed by Michael Andretti, Fittipaldi, and Robbie Gordon. Back at the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix, we now have 23 laps complete of the 77-lap scheduled distance. 1 pit stop has already been made. There's been a revolving battle around the front of the field. Al Unser Jr. has it right now. A change in 2nd and 3rd place as Paul Tracy was able to get around his teammate during the pit stop. Let's go to the pit side. Update on this tire situation. Seems to be getting serious, Lynn St. James.
It's very serious, and you've seen what grainy tires look like. Well, I just wanted to show you, these are the tires that came off of Scott Pruitt's car, and I mean, these are just really clean, nice, worn tires. So if you can get that right chassis set up, balanced with the tire wear and the tire compound you're running, you can get the job done, and this shows that it can be done.
The group that we're watching right now is being led by Emerson Fittipaldi, who, of course, did not make a pit stop when the leaders did. He vaulted up from around 14th position to 4th, where he's running now. It's a gamble, of course, but he seems to be keeping pace very well, effectively, with Robbie Gordon, who was the pole sitter. He's doing a hell of a job.
And, you know, to talk about the tires just a little bit more, what's happening is what they call them graining, the tire that's rolling up that we saw in the Goodyears earlier, is coming off. And it's going to the outside of the track where the cars are not running. In other words, pick any corner and look at the outside of the groove, and it's piling up out there. Now, what this is going to do is thin the groove down, make it skinnier. Places to pass are going to become harder. Being up in front is going to become more important before this happens. The worst is going to happen later in the race.
Sky continues to be overcast, so no bright sun coming down on this track, though it appears that the sun would like to break out at any time. Tremendous crowd here lining this track almost the entire distance. In fact, I think about every place that someone is allowed to stand, there are people standing watching this run, including a bunch of them hanging off of a bridge watching from the fountain area.
There was a time when Emerson Fittipaldi almost seemed to own this race, winning it back in '89 and '91.
So watching now from Michael Andretti as he closes in on 2nd place Paul Tracy. You ride with Michael, and there is Tracy looking back. So the top looking forward, below looking backwards. Of course, Paul Tracy on the bottom is in 2nd place. Michael Andretti is 3rd. Al Unser Jr. is up ahead in 1st.
And again, these are teammates, come out of the same stable.
And you know what makes this so neat is that this is really the way the driver feels. He's both simultaneously aware of the car in front and the car behind in a battle.
And keep a close eye on Michael's hands and his helmet as he bounces around this circuit. Give you a good idea how really rough it is.
watch, too, that they do not shortcut these curves very much. The curves are fairly sharp, and it throws the car too much when they try to shortcut them.
From a year ago or so, you can see where they've widened the track from that. Look how close. Paul Tracy from Michaels, there you can see how close he gets to the wall sometimes. Now, sometimes these cars clip the walls a little bit. Then it sometimes bends the rear suspension, puts them out of the race.
Ongoing battle for second place between Tracy and Michael Andretti. Al Unser Jr. is the leader. Emerson Fittipaldi runs in fourth place. He's now gone 26 laps without a stop. That's what's keeping him up at the top of the order. So both Fittipaldi and Ribeiro, not any time ought to be making that decision, depending on how much of advantage they got during the yellow of heading for the pits.
And what Emerson and his crew are gambling on, of course, is they needed to get by a whole bunch of cars, not make the pit stop. They need another yellow right now. That would keep them back up in front. So that was what their gamble was.
Jack Aruth, the tactic that's being played by Team Penske, splitting the stops on their cars.
Well, I've been trying to get a hold of you, Paul, because that's exactly what's happening. They've split the cars because it looks as if, and we say looks as if Chuck Sprague may roll the dice with Emerson Fittipaldi and try and make this a one-stop race. They expect to come in no earlier than lap 36. If they can pull off lap 36, check how much fuel they've got, they might run the gamble and the risk and try and make it a one-stop event.
So Fittipaldi would like to stay out another 9 laps as we look for Emerson Fittipaldi, and we keep an eye on this battle for second. It seems that Andrew Ribeiro, Fittipaldi, of course, Mercedes power, Andrew Ribeiro, Honda power. There's Emerson as he comes off the corner, is playing exactly the same tactic.
My calculations say that Emma's going to have a hard time making it on just one pit stop now, and especially trying to stay ahead of these two guys who are not sitting there sleeping for sure. So you use fuel by driving harder. You save fuel by easing up, shifting earlier, things like that. I don't think Emma's going to be able to do that and stay up in front.
Well, 2 yellows for a total of 4 laps have certainly helped this situation. You can't count on that going all the way to the end. 27 laps now complete. Al Unser Jr. leads it. Back on beautiful Belle Isle in Detroit, you're looking down from one of America's most enduring images, the Goodyear blimp overhead giving us an aerial view of the course here on Belle Isle today. Floating in an overcast sky, the temperature is staying down, that helping the tires a little bit. This happened just a second ago. Christian Fittipaldi into the tire barrier. He actually went in along with Joe DeFerrin, but DeFerrin was able to get his car started again and back out. Look at the back of the helmet. We mentioned this last week. See that chip? He calls that his brain chip, the CF1 brain chip for Christian Fittipaldi. Now, they're trying. He wants him out of the barriers, but he's not getting the kind of help that he was hoping for.
He's already unhooked his seat belts and all. He's been started out, now he's arguing about something, and I think that's the Italian way of talking with his hand, but the guys are not paying any attention, whatever it is.
Corner workers were right there at the time of the incident, but of course, they're not in a position to try and yank this car all the way out, apparently. Needs some mechanical help from one of the trucks. We still stay on a full green flag with a zone yellow only around Christian Fittipaldi's car. Now, 31 laps are complete. Al Unser Jr. is the leader, followed by Tracy Andretti and Emerson Fittipaldi, who has not yet stopped.
Now, if Barron went in there, Paul, he was able to back out and keep his engine running. Obviously, Christian didn't.
Made a visit to the pits and got back into the running. Jack Aruth, can you add to that?
Well, Paul, what Jill DeFerrin did is had the wherewithal to come in. They elected and looked initially to change the nose cone, but one of the great things is once you come down on the pit road, it's the first chance that crews get to see the condition of the race car. They looked over the nose cone, did have have a couple of cracks, but they thought it would take way too long under green flag conditions to change it. They changed tires and sent Jill back out.
And boy, Jack, will this play into Fittipaldi's hands? Full course yellow.
Wow. 2 Brazilians set up a situation in which the older Brazilian can fully take advantage of it.
So full course yellow with Al Unser Jr. in front. Emerson Fittipaldi, I would guess, would head for the pits anytime now, taking advantage of this. Maybe not, though. Paul Tracy is second. Third is Michael Andretti, then Fittipaldi, and then Robbie Gordon, as we have our third full course caution of the day on Belle Isle in Detroit.
Christian Fittipaldi brings the Walker Motorsports car into the pit area after that incident. Same thing, we were talking about how wonderful those tire walls work, and it looks like he's been able to go in fairly hard and come out without too much damage. In fact, hardly any damage on his car at all, and is back underway. Unfortunately, he will have lost a lap. He is, of course, driving for Derek Walker this year, and Derek Walker, in fact, worked on Wilson Fittipaldi's car many years ago. It looks like they have decided they've got a problem after all, but Christian Fittipaldi, I don't see any damage on the car, but there may be a ruling there. You see Billy Camphausen, who's one of the IndyCar chief stewards, he may be making a ruling of a penalty or some assessment, because Christian had actually undone his belts at one point and attempted to get out of the car, and they may saying that once he had done that, you can't get back in and can't do a lap without the belts on. An interesting moment in a big meeting yesterday. There was talk of maybe getting a single file start on this race because of the rain. Well, the Brazilians and all the ex-Formula 1 guys all said, no way, that's not racing. And Christian Fittipaldi was one of the most outspoken guys about that. And talking of Fittipaldi and Brazilians and Wilson Fittipaldi, the big news, of course, this weekend is that they have announced there's going to be a race in Rio de Janeiro next year on the 1.3-mile oval circuit, and there's about 14 million people available to come to the race, and they reckon about half of those will. It's going to be a major race at the beginning of the season next year in Rio de Janeiro. And just to update you, Emerson Fittipaldi has not pitted yet under this yellow. It's Al Jr., Tracy, then Michael Andretti, top three.
Back on Belle Isle, Detroit, keeping an eye on the number 2 red and white car of Emerson Fittipaldi. His team has laid out the tires in the pits while we continue under this full course caution. So, Jack Arute, I would expect he'll be visiting you just any time now.
And Paul, this really didn't work out the way that Chuck Sprague and company had hoped. They had really hoped that this caution would go just a little bit longer. He and Emerson Fittipaldi have been discussing this and saying still it's better to come in and pit now than to have to do it under green flag conditions. So the team is waiting for Emerson Fittipaldi, and they will make a stop, and this will change the window and could change the strategy as far as whether this is a one-stop or a two-stop race for Fittipaldi and Team Penske.
Jack, it's also going to be costly because as he comes in the pits, they're probably going to go back to green flag racing.
But still, like as Chuck Sprague was saying, it's still going to be better than having them all back up to speed at another lap. So you sacrifice one lap on this stop, but you're still back up to speed quicker than if you waited till the thing was full green for a lap. And yet
get it nearly to the 34th lap, so he gets it just a little bit further.
Now he's already signaled to the drivers behind him. That's Emerson. He's coming in. He's breaking off right now to come into the pit right there. And their decision is right. He's better off to stop now because they've dedicated themselves to a one pit stop race.
Emerson makes his stop.
And I also think they can make it because of when this yellow came.
Roar of the engine as Emerson continues to blip it and keep it alive,
while his teammate stays in the lead on the track.
And he's down and away, so Emerson Fittipaldi looked like a good stop, Jack.
Chuck Sprague called the action. Let's see if we can get a quick word with Chuck when he's done talking to Emerson. Chuck, not quite what you wanted. You wanted to go to 36, but is it still possible to make this a one-stop race?
Well, anything's possible. It's typical of the season for me this year. We keep looking for 2 more yellows than we're going to get, but we're giving it a shot here. You know, starting from the back like we did there, we have to try a different strategy.
Well, good luck to him. And Bobby Unser, you overheard the radio communication to Ammo, fuel to 7 o'clock. Tell us what that means.
Fuel to 7 o'clock. By golly, I don't know. He's not going to be running until 7 o'clock, or we're all in trouble, Jack. I don't know.
Chuck Sprague, the team manager for Penske Racing, monitors the action on Emerson Fittipaldi's car while Roger Penske keeps in radio touch with Al Unser Jr.'s car, and he is the leader. The 3rd race that little Al has led this year, and by the way, in each one of those, he's gone on to lead the most laps and won one of the others.
Now again, everybody wants to keep in mind, Emerson Fittipaldi in the number 2, he's going to go all the way, or at least try it. He's going to have to short shift, make mileage. All the other guys are going to have to stop.
You saw Christian Fittipaldi. He's just at the back of this group right now as the leaders came around him. So apparently Lynn St. James, he's back into the fight.
Yes, there was a little confusion on that stop because obviously he'd gotten into the tire walls, and Christian, I think, had almost gotten out of the car, and then they got him back going. He got in here. He was going to get out of the car again while it was in the pits. The crew said, no, stay in, and they were able to change the left front top upper wishbone and tires, and he's back out. But I think we need to keep an eye on him and make sure that, nothing else is damaged.
Now, the problem with that is when they change the wishbones or the uprights or whatever on the front end of or the rear end of a car, the suspension setups are not going to be the same. It's impossible to have them perfect. But he'll still get along a lot better than sitting in the tire wall or in the pit somewhere, Lynn.
What we have here, of course, is the Penske team being threatened and chased by the Carl Haas team, the 2 most powerful teams in IndyCar racing at this point, duking it out here in the streets of Detroit. The interesting thing is the cooperation between Paul Tracy, you see on the left of the screen there, and Michael Andretti pursuing him. Through the year, these 2 young drivers, every reason to have a bitter rivalry, have in fact been very cooperative with one another.
Christian Fittipaldi fell down to 23rd position. As we take a look for 10th place, Andre Ribeiro. He's been battling. Got a crash right on the front stretch. That's Carlos Guerrero and Christian Danner right in front of us here. In fact, you could hear him scraping along the wall at the booth. Both of them appear to be okay. Bobby, that sure got your attention.
Well, it did, and believe it or not, it sounded like a tire exploded to me. Now, often the explosion of a tire means you ran over something, not necessarily the tire maker's fault. But a tire sounded like it exploded. I see tire pieces all over the racetrack. That was right in front of our booth here.
Yeah, that's exactly the view that we have, and look at all the junk that is all over the racetrack. Tire lane way down the track. That looks like it came off of maybe Christian's car. And both of the drivers appear okay. Carlos Guerrero already out of the car. But boy, there's a lot of debris out there and a full course yellow on this one.
This will have major tactical ramifications, of course, particularly affecting Emerson.
We can't see what was the causal factor. But obviously it was Carlos Guerrero leading Danner, and they both caught the wall. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Paul Samposi is absolutely correct. This is considered by this team a free stop for Emerson Fittipaldi. Before the full course came out, the strategy was if we are still running in last place, when a full course yellow come in, because it's basically a free stop. That's what they're going to do. It gets them back within the window, making this their final stop.
Well, and let's review what that's done for him then. When he made his stop, Emerson Fittipaldi fell down to 16th position but stayed on the leader lap, and that was very important for him to accomplish. So now with this full course yellow, the 4th of the day, it's going to give him an opportunity to come in, fuel again. It looks even like they have some tires available for him should they want him, and give him a marvelous opportunity to stay at the front of the order. So there's Emerson Fittipaldi as this main straightaway accident, which has littered the pit straight with debris, has slowed the race once again, and they're going to have to spend a few moments trying to get all of the junk from these 2 wrecked cars off of the straightaway. So here on Belle Isle in Detroit, another caution period. We'll be back with more.
Thank you.
The ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix on Belle Isle, Detroit, under our 4th full course yellow of the day. They're still picking up debris on the pit straight here as a result of contact with the wall involving Christian Danner and Carlos Guerrero. And Lynn St. James, I think, was able to get one of the involved aside. Lynn, do you still have him?
Yes, we have Christian Danner.
Got it.
Christian, do you have any? Could you give us any insight of what you saw? What happened out there?
Well, yeah, I can give you a rather close insight. The problem I had was that I had no fourth gear. It broke. So in acceleration, especially after a yellow, the car behind has to be a bit careful, you know, because I have to go from 3rd to 5th. And that guy there, he just drove over me. He wasn't very careful. That was all.
Okay, so you're obviously okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just no finish, and that's always bad, isn't it?
It is, but I can tell you it's good that you're walking away from it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good report on Christian Danner there. So Al Unser Jr. is still the leader under the full course yellow. Nothing's changed at the top of the order. It's Unser Jr., Paul Tracy, Michael Andretti, Robbie Gordon, and Scott Pruitt.
You know, we're not too much farther away. If it stays yellow like a couple of more laps, everybody, I think, would be pitting and trying to go till the end. Emerson has got everybody wondering or thinking about their pits now.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi runs 14th, still on the leader lap, Jackaroon.
Well, indeed he is, and here's the deal. If Emerson can go to lap 43 before he stops again, and remember we alluded to it before that he is well in the back of the lead lap, so it would be in essence a free stop for him under a full course yellow. He can go the distance. In the meantime, the man that leads this event, his teammate Al Unser Jr., is coming very close to his normal pit stop window. That would be for his next stop. That would make Emerson and Little Al in two distinct and very different approaches to the tactics to win this race. We've seen it time and time again when Roger Penske lets each side choose the way they want to try and chase the checkered flag.
All right, so we'll keep tracking those tactics too. The 49 car, that's Parker Johnstone. Hadn't been around for a while. He started 27th, and he is now running in 9th position. They're still picking up on the front straight here. Should have it done in just a few minutes.
Eurosport.
We expect the green flag to come out this time around to the new race leader, Robbie Gordon, who picked up the lead on the spot. The stop of Paul Tracy, and you see he's actually 3rd car in the order. That's as a result of all the stops that came under this caution. And now he tries to work his way around Gil de Ferran.
But he's smart. He could have made a desperate lunge, but he kept it under control.
It's possible even Gil de Ferran doesn't know. He might be thinking he's leading right now. But Robbie Gordon is the leader.
And with that stop, by the way, Johansson dropped through the field as he came across the line. The stop was made on the last lap, so the EDS scoring indicated it prior to the green flag coming out, and Johansson's now dropped down in the order to 14th, and Andre Ribeiro is in 2nd place. So we'll take a look at Andre right now. Honda power. It's Gordon that he should be chasing ahead, though not immediately ahead. And directly behind him is Jimmy Vasser.
You know, another thing you got to remember, Little Al, who was leading the race before, didn't come out too good in his pit stops. He's clear back to 7th. Now, the reason there's...
De Ferran's in trouble.
And Ribeiro pulls out to block Pruitt.
That could be another yellow flag coming up. If it is, it's really going to be interesting here.
This will be a battle for position as Pruitt tries to get around Ribeiro.
Pruitt really wants by Ribeiro. Remember, both these men on Firestone, so there's a kind of rivalry here.
And the early leaders, Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. just behind them as they try to get up to the front again. Front position currently occupied by Robbie Gordon. So the tactics and the pit stops have made this a fascinating race.
It's certainly not turned out the way it was planned for some of them. Little Al came out of the pit slow. As you can see him, just went behind the number 1 red and white car. Right there you can see him at the top of the screen. Came out in 7th place. Not too good for a Penske pit stop there.
Boy, Scott Pruitt keeps trying him. Just ahead of Ribeiro there, you see Jimmy Vasser.
Remember that just 2 weeks ago, Vasser led the Indy 500 before he was put out by a crash. Vassar told me the other day he loves driving for Chip Ganassi, his new car owner, because Chip likes to see the car go fast, doesn't really mind or complain when it gets wrecked, as long as it's moving fast when it happens.
So it's Gordon, Vassar, Ribeiro, Pruitt, Michael Andretti. Lynn St. James, you've been keeping an eye on Andre Ribeiro.
Yes, this team's kind of quiet, but they're really getting very excited, and the jobs, obviously, they said they're racing out there. But, you know, the point is that Andre Ribeiro came in on lap 32 for fuel, so I would say if we're green the rest of the way, that they won't be able to go the distance. They're not saying anything, but it would be really, really tight.
Well, I think they're probably conserving a little bit because Andre Ribeiro was just passed and quickly by Scott Pruitt, who darted out and around him, so maybe they have the fuel set down a little bit to try and conserve. That puts Scott Pruitt in direct contact with the second place car of Jimmy Vassar. That's Gugelman just ahead. He is not on the lead lap. The leader of the race, about 4 seconds ahead of this fight, is Robbie Gordon. Let's go to the pits once again.
Well, a problem for Gilles DeFerrin's car. He's come onto pit road, and the report from Jim Hall and company, the owner of the car, is the fact that DeFerrin has reported no throttle control. That's not a throttle cable. It's the electronic control that sets the lean or the rich mixture on the car. So they're back into an electronics problem. And one of the things that we've seen in the last couple of years is when you have that kind of a problem, you bring a laptop computer out and download the information.
Boy, and I can look on the front of that yellow car and see somebody's tire marks right on the nose that you're standing by, Jack.
Jimmy Vassar runs in second place. Mauricio Gugelman in the car in the front, not a factor. They're chasing chasing Robbie Gordon. Allenser Jr. is back behind Michael Andretti. Jimmy Vassar, I'll tell you what, he can be a lot of fun away from the track as well. We were laughing with him about the fact that he has Joe Montana now as part of the team, sitting up on the scoring stand. He says, yeah, I'm going to have to show Joe a little bit about passing here today.
Vassar from Discovery Bay, California.
Look at little Al Mario coming up now. Trying to get by Gugelman there.
Whoa, and they all get caught up trying to get around Gugelman. Allenser Jr. was right on the back of Michael Andretti in a fight for fourth. And look at Fernandez as he comes in. Fernandez runs in sixth place.
I said Mario, and I meant Michael. I'm so used to seeing Mario in trading in my racing years.
Fernandez in that green and red car is having himself the best race of his year. There he is, center screen. One reason might be that he's planning to move near here, just across the river in Bloomfield Hills. He's going to make his new home.
And Bobby, the Bobby and Mario years, that's ancient history in racing now.
Well, I don't like to think that it is now.
There it is. Fernandez on the inside picks off Gugelman.
Teo Fabi is the next in position, and then Villeneuve just behind him. That takes you down through your top 8. Marco Greco runs 9th. Emerson Fittipaldi's worked his way back up to 10th. Leader is still Gordon. Fastest lap thus far has been turned by Michael Andretti at 104 miles an hour. Doesn't sound all that fast when you think of 220, 225 at Indy, 230 at Indy. But believe me, on this tight little course, that's hauling.
Yes, it is. It's a fast track. A lot of fast turns. No real long straightaways, and then real sharp turns at the end where guys pass a lot. Look at the front of Fabi's car. That red and white car just went by the look at that. Big tire marks on the nose. Got into somebody's rear tire getting its turn with that one.
47 laps are complete, 77 laps the scheduled distance. 161.7 miles, the distance scheduled.
In 3 successive weekends, these drivers go from 230 miles an hour of speeds at Indianapolis to 160 on the mile at Milwaukee to just over 100 here on the road course at Belle Isle. A compression of speed, but with the situation changing, it just shows you what great variety this IndyCar series has.
And what versatility you have out of the drivers, that they can move from one to another. Not just the drivers and teams. You think of the drivers, but it's the teams that have to move from a car set up for a super speedway to one that can run on a road course, that one can run on a flat oval.
Sure.
Now we keep an eye on Michael Andretti and Allenser Jr. This developing into a battle for 4th place. Michael has it right now.
The engineers really earn their money, don't they, Paul?
And then some. And then some. And you consider the round that they've just come off, they're going to get really their first break in over a month. And then they'll go on the road for 4 straight weeks. And that means tearing a car down after every race, putting it back together, and being on to the next place in about 4 days. Remarkable. So 48 laps of 77 complete. Robbie Gordon, the pole sitter, is back at the top of the order. Vassar is second. is going to create, here's the situation that set it up. Salazar lost it while he was being chased by Johnstone and went to the outside at the same time that Parker did, and that caused a wreck for both of them.
And the fire that you saw spring up there was a magnesium that just flash burns like that.
There's Parker Johnstone as he heads back for the pit area. He seemed to be pretty upset about that confrontation. He was running so well. Tonight on ABC, a special hour of America's Funniest Home Videos, followed by Lois and Clark. And then Suzanne Summers in a wonderful movie event based on her own life story, Keeping Secrets. That's all tonight here on ABC. So we're under a full course caution once again. There's Eliseo Salazar. They're obviously both okay. They were running very tight together, and Parker was having just a terrific run. We've had some other indications. Andre Ribeiro apparently is having a gearbox problem. He still runs in 15th, right at the back of the order. There are 15 cars on the leader lap, but once again, our full course yellow, the 5th of the day, slowing this race average speed down and creating a wonderfully tactical situation for the teams trying to stretch fuel to the end. But then there's also those just enjoying the run, eh, Jack Arute?
Well, Paul, actually, it was kind of a little hot and heated down here for a couple of seconds in Ganassi, Montana Racing, because you guys were trying to come up with some strategy. Now, you were just sitting back watching it all, Joe, and then your co-owner came around and tried to decide whether they should pit or stay out.
Well, I'm not involved in those decisions, thank God. But, you know, he's been around this a long, long time, and he knows a lot. He knows a lot more than I do about it, and I'm just here to root him on, that's all.
Yeah, but Chip, you were telling me before that he's really, the learning curve is a little steep, but he's really picking up on it. And I understand that what you're going to do here now is run the dice out as far as you can. You may not come in.
I'll tell you, Jack, it's shades of Indy all over again. You know, we needed a yellow. We got a yellow here, and we're pretty sure if the moon and the stars and the planets lined up, we're going to be on target and make it to the finish.
Well, I don't understand that one, but let's go to Lynn St. James.
Well, obviously, when we have yellow, sometimes it gives an opportunity for drivers, but for the ones that are in the yellow, cause the yellow, it's a real disappointment. Parker, what happened?
Well, it's not the way we like to get on TV. We've had a real tough weekend, but this morning, Comtech Racing Team put together a great car. We started at the back. We had moved up to 9th place. The good folks at Motorola were supporting us, and they've got a lot of people here, and we're really enthused about this race. And on that last restart, I came up behind Eliseo and tried to make some different moves on him and just couldn't get by. This place is really difficult to pass, and he made a slight mistake coming onto the long pit straight. Not much. I mean, just a bobble, and I got right underneath his gearbox. And I've been going in here pretty deep all day, and I went up underneath him, and he turned in and obviously just didn't see that I had moved underneath him because it's a very fast corner on the racetrack. It's a difficult place not only to pass but to see. So, you know, my apologies to he and Dick Simon and all the guys on his team, but it was one of those racing incidents, and we didn't have time to wait, and it's just one of those things that happened, which is unfortunate because all the guys at Comtech and Honda have done a tremendous job, and what a great car I had.
Great racing, trying hard, didn't quite turn out right.
Well, as you know, if it were easy, everyone would do it, but that's what makes racing racing.
Thanks very much, Parker.
Parker Johnstone, quite a gentleman. So we're under the full course caution again with Robbie Gordon as the leader in 51 laps now complete. Jimmy Vasser with a good run in 2nd place right now. We'll be back after this message. And 5th full course caution of the day in the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix. Let's review the stories. Well, the rough track is very definitely figured into the bottom of that order, which is the battle between Goodyear and Firestone, as the tires have very definitely been a problem here today, and the rough track isn't helping that. Michael's frustration, he's not as frustrated as he could be. He's running in 4th place now and has a definite shot at taking part in a battle for the lead. The question is going to be challenges in passing on the street circuits, and let me tell you, we've seen some incredible passes in places I don't think you ought to be able to. Fuel has also become very much an issue, and how you make it stretch out. Jack Arute?
Well, I'm with car owner Derek Walker of Robbie Gordon and Christian Fittipaldi's mounts, but you've had a very long discussion with your crew chief and the rest of the team. What is the condition for Robbie Gordon right now?
Well, the guy we've been talking to the most is the fuel miser back there on the control panel. We've been monitoring the fuel use, which obviously that's going to come into the end of the race. We're just trying to get through the end without any other stops. I mean, everything else is working fine.
Can you go the distance? Can you go without having to make another stop?
We believe we can, but obviously till you do it, you never know.
Let's check in with Lynn St. James.
Well, the other Walker Racing teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, has got a stop-and-go penalty for speeding in pit lane going 90 miles an hour. And I asked the crew chief, I said, did he use his button? On every steering wheel is this button, and when you engage that button, it actually engages a pit lane speed control. It's not cruise control, but it actually is predetermined by the computer, preset, that no matter what gear you're in, it automatically will limit you to going only 80 miles an hour, which is the speed limit in the pit lane. They don't know if he used it. Obviously he didn't, or he wouldn't have had that black stop and go.
Of course, part of it is how you set the numbers in for that and whether or not they were set in correctly. So Goodyear's been a formidable presence here at the Detroit Grand Prix, not only on the track but above the track with the Goodyear blimp Spirit of Akron, which is hovering overhead, providing us with spectacular aerial views. We're under full course caution. Robbie Gordon leaves it. Jimmy Vasser is up from 17th or 14th into second place, and we're going to have a nice sprint to the finish. We'll be back. You're with ABC Sports at the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix on Belle Isle in Detroit, a 2.1 mile, 14-turn temporary road course. We're under a full course caution. After 53 laps, this was the order. 77 laps or 161.7 miles is the scheduled distance. And there are some very interesting tactics now beginning to be, well, not now, they've been playing them the whole race, haven't they, Jack?
Oh, Paul, this I think started probably last night when people tried to run the scenarios out. A little bit different than the type of race we had expected, but everyone thought fuel would be a situation. Now, Jimmy Vasser, who currently runs in second, according to Montana Ganassi Racing, they think they can go the distance because they've had a sufficient number of caution laps. The same, though, although Derek Walker said it on camera, he seems to also think that maybe the people that are chasing the leader, Robbie Gordon, his car down, have to make an additional stop. So it depends on whether Robbie Gordon's car owner, Derek Walker, wants to play it close to the vest or play it like a blackjack game. It's right now it's showing 17. Do you want to take another hit? Go back to Scott Pruitt. He can go the distance. Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr., both of them, according to our information, should be able to go the distance as well. But let me tell you one thing that I've learned about racing after about 15 years on the IndyCar circuit. You can forget about everything I just said, because when they drop the green flag, it all goes out the window.
Yeah, and then you got a guy like me who hits on 17. 6 places, Fernandez, then Fabi, then Villeneuve, then Tracy, then Fittipaldi. It all looks like they can go the distance. That's Emerson Fittipaldi, ready to go green.
Just keep in mind, Robbie Gordon and Vasser have both gone 4 laps longer than all the other cars on their pit. So they're 4 laps worse shape on their fuel.
As they're ready to come back to green flag racing, you look down above the Detroit River, the Honda Helicam, and you look across the river into Canada. River splits around Belle Isle. Great unlimited hydroplane race. The Gold Cup held here as well. There's that camera mounted outboard of the helicopter, giving those great runs down the backstretch. What I think is fascinating is that, generally speaking, the Indy cars can outrun the helicopter down that stretch along the river there.
Interesting, the experience level among the first 3 drivers, Gordon, Vasser, and Pruitt. Just 1 win among those 3 drivers, but 57 wins between Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. right behind him.
See Robbie Gordon pitch the back end as he came around the pace car and head back to green flag racing. Green flag out. In pursuit right behind him is Vasser. Scott Pruitt runs in 3rd place. Michael Andretti right behind him. The leaders all together.
Now these guys need to scrub off a little bit of that tire buildup that they get while they were under yellow. But after that, we've got to see a trophy dash type of a race.
And I'll tell you what, we've got everybody in the field that's running for the lead, all right together on the course. Down through Teo Fabi, Jacques Villeneuve, who is 8th, Paul Tracy, who is 9th, and Emerson Fittipaldi, who's 10th. They're all together on the race course.
And we've talked about the international aspect of this race, but yet the first 5 drivers are all Americans.
Side of Jimmy Vasser. On the restart, Jack Villeneuve. Look at this. As Paul Tracy got outside him, and he almost lost it totally, but gathered it back up and saved it.
Well, I showed you that kid's one good driver. He really should have lost that one.
A heavy Indy car pitched like that. Nice piece of recovery. Nothing changes at the front. Pruitt still worrying Vasser.
They're looking for holes, though, Paul. They really need to do this quick. You can't let Robbie Gordon get away. Vassar is trying to hold on. He's not necessarily gaining on Robbie, but look right behind. It's getting really crowded right there.
Down the pit straight once again. 56 laps complete for the leader, Robbie Gordon. The battle is at second place. Vassar and Scott Pruitt. Michael Andretti now sticks his nose in, tries to get around Pruitt.
You see Vassar in that red and yellow car right there. He came very close to winning at Indy. He had his best day so far in racing at Indianapolis, and I think that gave him a confidence that he had never experienced before.
He's a good driver, Sam. He just doesn't know. He knows that Pruitt has got to take a swing at him occasionally here. He just doesn't know which turn or which side. But Pruitt has to try it.
It's 2 seconds from first back to fifth place, Al Unser Jr. They're all right together, and nobody seems to be able to pull out much of an advantage. Robbie Gordon a little bit ahead, while Jimmy Vassar handles up the challenge from Scott Pruitt. Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. there watching, waiting, looking for an opening.
Scott Pruitt, the red and white car, number 3 there. Pat Patrick's the owner. Puts a lot of pressure on his drivers. Likes good results.
He never put pressure on you, Bobby.
Well, I didn't drive for him very often, but I used to outrun his cars a whole bunch.
You put the pressure on Pat. Robbie Gordon still in front. Came across the line 0.8 of a second ahead of Jimmy Vassar.
Michael Andretti has a look at what his work is. He has got to make these passes ahead of him. He is a brilliant passer. He's had trouble with the brakes throughout the season. He's coming around now to one of the few points on the track which offers an opportunity for passing. It'll come up right here after this little bridge with concrete. Notice how wide the track is here. This is a passing opportunity, but he does not get a good exit speed off that turn, and thus has no chance this lap.
Aerial views really help you tell exit speed as you look first through fifth. Let's go ride with Michael Andretti. He runs in 4th place. We'll sit here, watch that battle ahead of him. He languishes in 9th place, and if he's going to start making a move toward the front of the championship standing, it's got to be today.
Did you listen to Michael going? You could hear his shifting in his transmission there. It's sequential shift. I know we told the people this a lot of times, but it shifts like a motorcycle. First to second to third. You can't jump gears. You have to follow them. And they downshift the same way.
Let's go up in the air again as we continue to watch this battle. Boy, is it terrific. Look at them all right together there. 18 laps to go.
Just the way the race started, except with a different cast.
Battle first through fifth, all right together there. Lynn St. James, what a great run.
Well, it's fantastic, and as Bobby was talking about the sequential gearbox, not only is it sequential, but it is now where you can actually keep your foot full throttle when you shift instead of having to kind of blip it. It's all done now with the engine control unit, and there's an engine control unit in the mechanism that just gives it just takes the ignition away just a fraction of a second every time the hand is on the shifter. So it's all beautiful, smooth, and automatic and controlled with computers.
Boy, is it unbelievable how Robbie gives the back end of that car a pitch as he comes on the straight, leading down to the pit straight. He really lets it track.
That group's got to make him kind of nervous. I mean, he looks behind him, he says, wow, there's a bunch of hungry guys back there.
Boy, nobody letting go.
Jimmy Vassar's best finish, you see him in the red car there, on a road course is 4th back last year in Australia. So he is, in a sense, overachieving very much at this point.
First through 8 have now closed up. They're all running together. First first through 8 with 17 laps to go.
The pressure's getting on. They're getting too close together without somebody making a real serious attempt at passing. So pretty soon we got to start seeing it.
Let's go pit side again. Lynn St. James.
Well, again, I was listening to Bobby talking about Robbie and how if he looks in those mirrors and he sees that whole row and that whole lineup behind him. But, you know, I can't help but think of Robbie's background of out there in the desert where, you know, he's such a charger and he, you know, this is the kind of thing that I think plays into his personality. This is when Robbie, I think, is going to be at his best.
Well, Lynn, I agree with you. And, of course, Robbie has the confidence that win at Phoenix gave him. He seems so overdue this year for a win. Now he's got one, and he seems to be well positioned to have another one right now.
Michael Andretti beginning to try some lines on Scott Pruitt. Al Unser Jr. sitting just back and watching from 5th place. And just that quick, there's first through 8th past you.
And you know, if you look right behind little Al, look at that red and green car. That's Rick Gallus's Adrian Fernandez coming up. Look at all the cars that are just lined up there. Somebody pulled the cork on that bottle. It's going to run every place.
And yet, the difficulty of passing here, particularly late in the race, with the groove so narrow, is obvious.
Robbie Gordon leads it. You see them all right together there. Then Jimmy Vasser, then Scott Pruitt, then Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. You know, it wasn't, 24 months ago that you talked about Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. as the new guys up and coming. Now they're the veterans, and the 3 in front of them are the new guys challenging these old guards such as it is.
Gordon starting to pull away a little.
And Michael once again lets Scott Pruitt know that he's there.
He's winding up his rubber band. He's getting ready to try something.
Bobby, this is kind of the racing that if you're a driver you really enjoy, is it not?
Oh, it really is, but every guy's thinking of his own deal, but what is the other guy thinking about? That's what they're all thinking.
All right, this is what everybody's concerned with in the pits as we run now the 62nd lap. Robbie Gordon, Jimmy Vasser stopped on lap 37, and then 4 laps later, Pruitt, Andretti, Unser Jr. all made their stops. In fact, Unser Jr., Fernandez, Teo Fabi, and Paul Tracy all made their stops. So the question is, can Gordon, can Vasser make it to the finish? Jack Arute, Robbie Gordon, can he make it to the finish? What do you think?
Well, Derek Walker may be putting the first base card up because first Robbie Gordon restarted the race. He was running at 96% fuel. He has now been instructed to turn it up to 98% fuel. And guys, that may account for the slight lead he has over Jimmy Vasser. He's, as we used to say in the old days, turned the wick up just a bit.
He's pulled the lead out to just over 1 second. Not much of a lead at all, especially
no, but it's really stopping the other guys from being able to. You can see how Vasser's falling back a little bit. They can't try a pass on him, and that's what he's trying to prevent. But remember another thing. They had such a long yellow the last time. Probably brought him into the right frame on fuel.
So first through 8th still run right together, nose to tail, all the way around. Nobody seems to be able to get anything done, though. I'd suggest to you that they're waiting until the last few laps, and then you're really going to see a scramble. We'll be back. Through 8, all right nose to tail with Robbie just a few feet advantage on the rest of the group. And then 9th through about 15th running about the same situation. So 2 groups and everybody running all right together
here.
Yeah,
there's only 12 laps to go. You know, I'm really rather surprised that we haven't seen some serious attempts at some passing. Little Al right there in the red and white car seems to be falling back. Fernandez is running up on him. The guys seem to all have a little bit of problems right here with their handling later in the race.
There's that other group we were talking about with Fittipaldi trying to worry Villeneuve. That actually is 9th. And Danny Sullivan is running in 12th. And Marco Greco also runs in that. DeFerrin, remember he had his problems earlier, is not on the same lap with Danny Sullivan.
The track must be pretty slippery offline, Paul, because the guys in both groups are just not doing any really serious attempts on passing. They're all there. They're all trying hard. Lord only knows that. They're just not trying any serious attempts.
Exactly, because there are very aggressive passers in this mix. Al Unser Jr., your nephew Michael Andretti are both men that will take a chance, absolutely, particularly when they're mired back there in 4th and 5th.
Now, Our booth sits right up against the wall of the track. That's why we heard that one incident so clearly, because it was right against the wall. When you look offline from the booth here, there's a whole lot of rubber buildup that is just off the line. In fact, the line is only about 1 car wide. And you take a look down beyond it, and there is all kinds of rubber buildup. And of course, Bobby, if you get off on that, you're going sliding.
Oh, it's just like driving on marbles. And another thing, like, for example, Robbie Gordon.
Now look there, see outside?
You can see it if you look to the offline with the cameras there. You can look at all the marbles right there to the right of the screen there. But you see that, and Robbie Gordon, for example, he just sits there and runs as hard as he can run, being careful not to get offline. He ruins the air. Hurts Vassar right behind because Vassar can't run offline. I'm convinced this is the only reason there hasn't been a lot of passing going on.
Yeah, Jimmy Vassar's, though, been able to cut down on Robbie's lead. He's now only an 8/10 lead. Jack Arute, you continue to watch Gordon.
Well, I continue to watch both of them, Paul. And the reason why that it's been able to be cut back down is because Derek Walker has radioed in to Robbie Gordon, go back to 96%. So we've gone from 98 to 96, and then he finished the broadcast with, "You're driving smart, just keep it up." In the meantime, in Chip Ganassi's pit, very little radio contact between Anderson, Tom Anderson, the chief engineer, and Chip Ganassi's driver, Jimmy Vassar. Instead, they're letting Vassar have his own head out there and run in second place. They continue to insist they, too, have no fuel problems.
The first 6 cars are all running almost identical laps at 103.3 miles an hour. That takes you all the way down through Adrian Fernandez. And you can see Fernandez right at the back there. They continue to stay together. I love it.
Well, Paul, our statistician, Russ Thompson, has just handed me a note. It says of the top 10 in points, 8 are in the top 10 in this race. So all of the players in the year are grouped together right at the front of this race.
All 3 are the first 3 cars Ford power. The next 2, Mercedes power.
The lap leaders so far, Robbie Gordon, 33 laps, Al Jr., 33 laps, and Paul Tracy, 2 laps. This is the first time a race has been held this year so far that Michael Andretti has not led a lap.
And that point for the most laps led has not yet been decided. The way it looks now, maybe not decided until the end of the run. Still an issue. Fuel on Robbie Gordon, fuel on Jimmy Vassar. And everybody else seems to be staying right there, hoping that they'll be out of fuel. We'll come back for the finish with 68 laps complete after this message and a word from your ABC station.
Riding on board of Michael Andretti is in the heated battle, currently running in 4th behind Scott Pruitt. But there, our leader, Robbie Gordon, in 2nd place, Jimmy Vassar. Can they go the distance, particularly with the mix turned up so high? Unbelievable that Gordon was given the instructions to turn it up. We'll find out as the race unfolds. The other interesting story is Alonso Jr. has actually slipped back just a little bit from this lead pack of 4, and now Adrian Fernandez is all over the back end of Alonso Jr. Can he get by him? Of course, Al Jr. raced for many years for Rick Gallis, the team that Adrian Fernandez is now racing for. Every time the 10th and 11th place cars have gone by us, that's Emma Fittipaldi and Stephanie Johansson, right past us on the main straightaway. Johansson has pulled out to make a move going into turn 1 and not completed it yet, but he's looked every time for the last 10 to 15 laps. Pruitt still stays in right on Vassar's tail, and Michael is right on Scott Pruitt's tail. Robbie with about a, breathing space room ahead of Jimmy Vassar, but not much room in him. Don't forget, he's hit the wall in every section he's been out in. Amazingly, not so in the race today. They are now coming up on Hiro Matsushita. This could certainly play into the hands of somebody here, as the 4 leaders, actually they'll get him right on the back fast section, so they should be okay. They'll all be able to get by him okay, but of course Hiro Matsushita does not have the best reputation for letting back markers by, and they didn't get by him on the main straight, so now they're going to follow him through a series of turns, and then over the footbridge and over the river bridge, and he does pull over to the side and give everybody room. So Gordon, Vassar, Pruitt and Andretti safely through. And it looks like Michael is having a look at Pruitt there, but Pruitt hangs on to the 3rd place position. Now you see Matsushita is hanging up or holding up Alonso Jr. behind them. Jr. is going to come by on the inside on the right-hander, and Adrian Fernandez should go with him as we look airily along the backstretch. That's called the Strand, heading down the easterly part of the track, coming into the casino section. through a right-hander, and then a series of, well, it's a triple apex left-hander. Gordon, Vassar, Pruitt, Michael Andretti on lap 70, just 7 laps to go. When they come, what, 6 laps to go when they come by this time. Onto the main back north end part of the track through another 2 right-handers, and then they'll be back onto the main straightaway and past us. Robbie Gordon stretching out his lead. There you see the Walker Motorsports team looking anxious for their 2nd win of the year.
Back on Belle Isle in Detroit, the EDS scoring computer shows that 2 seconds covers 1st through 6th. Nothing has changed anywhere in the order for you. They continue to be strung nose to tail. Robbie Gordon from time to time is able to pull a slight advantage, but there it is. That's the only advantage that he has. And 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Vassar, Pruitt, Michael Andretti, all right together.
We watch Michael, for example, trying to work the outside of it, seeing if there is a little bit of pavement out there he can get a hold of. Remember, it's all marbles outside of the groove, especially where they need to pass.
Just a few seconds ago, they came up on the slower car of Hiro Matsushita, and Jack Arute reported that Derek Walker's team anticipated that, went down to make absolutely sure that Hiro was radioed, that the leaders are charging down behind him, and if he could, to please give him room, and that's exactly what he did.
Hiro's pretty good about that. That's that big cement plate right there that you saw that's gray. Not tearing up this year. The track has really stayed good. It's the tires that have been peeling off.
From time to time, Michael Andretti appears to poke his nose out as if he is testing, would you say, Bobby, the area where the marbles are?
Yes, and there's only, yes. You can just look at him running offline. He's hunting for a place, any place. He could be faster, but he just can't get by it. Scott Pruitt right ahead of him there. He's not sleeping either. He's been trying to get by Vassar the same way.
So right at 10 miles, 5 laps to go.
Pruitt is a veteran of a great many Trans Am races where you drive defensively like this in single file a lot of the time. So this kind of racing is very familiar to him.
Again, the view down from the Honda Helocam.
They always separate on the straightaways. That's because of the speed. They'll bunch up in the corners. But of course, the corners is where the passing happens if it does.
But Gordon, Robbie Gordon is starting to pull out a little bit. He's about 1.2 seconds ahead right now.
Battle 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Gordon starts into the corner ahead. There you see him. There you see the advantage.
A couple of years ago when Gordon was a rookie here driving for A.J. Foyt, I asked him what it was like on the track. He said, well, it's like riding a bucking bronco. I'm completely out of control out there. I said, well, what do you do to bring the car back under control? Well, he said, oh, I just hang on tighter. Never occurred to him to slow up, and I don't think it does now either.
He's in great physical shape. Of course, all these guys are at the front of the field. Michael continues to turn in a little bit earlier on some of the sweepers.
The fitness is an issue with a track rough like this and a long, demanding race, you bet.
I think Michael's also kind of hoping that those guys up in front of him there, Scott Pruitt and Vassar, will get into a little bit of a dogfight, get into a wreck themselves, or get a little confrontation and let him benefit from it.
But I don't think it's going to happen. Do you, Bobby?
It certainly doesn't look like it's him.
It seems incredible, given the excitement of a few laps ago, how close they were, that no one has been able to make a move at all. And the only explanation is the narrowness of the groove. Because if you try to pull out to pass somebody, you're just going to find yourself on pavement, which isn't going to offer any grip.
Well, they're all afraid of that because the whole train would go by. We saw 8 positions right in.
Whoa! What did we see there? I thought I saw something lift off.
You can look at the roads. You see the cameras go by some of the turns. You can see all the rubber laying out there. This is exactly what's happening, or what's happened to the track that makes it just a one groove, hard to pass.
So as we watch the front of the field, no change there. The question is the current points leader, Jacques Villeneuve, who sits back in the field, running currently in 9th place. And he is losing points by remaining back in this position. In fact, right now he's going to allow a closure of 13 points, or nearly half the advantage that he had coming into this race. More than half the advantage.
And if we look ahead to the next few races, which are road road races. Is this a hint of things to come? Robbie Gordon on the pole. Robbie Gordon leading this race with just a few laps to go. Jacques Villeneuve, who you see here in the blue and white car, maybe not so sharp on road races. He won Miami earlier in the year, so it's hard to believe that this isn't just an anomaly. But maybe it is a sign of things to come.
Now, he's a good road racer, no question about it. Getting a setup right on this track is a very difficult thing to do.
Riding Robbie Gordon, 3 laps to go. Still no change at the front of the order. Oh, what a great race this is.
Robbie Gordon, who had, as I said earlier, a crash each of the 3 days that we've been here, is now absolutely precise and perfect when it counts the most. What a performance. 26 years old. Orange, California.
5 caution periods have the race average at 83 miles an hour, according to the EDS computer. Race record held by Paul Tracy from last year at 86.245 miles an hour. So those 5 caution periods really haven't had that much of an effect on the overall race record. White flag should be coming out next time by. Decision time for all these guys at the front of the order. Can Robbie Gordon hold on? Still the question of fuel for the first 2 cars.
Gordon is protected by that cushion of a 1.5 seconds from Vassar. Vassar can't make a move on him from back there. He's too far back. It would have to be a fuel issue or a mistake by Gordon.
They're all trying hard. There's just not much they can do with each other.
Well, I've never seen them so equally matched. The first 7 now running all right at 103 miles an hour as the white flag indicating 1 more lap to go comes out for that group, 1st through 6th. Fernandez sits in 6th. Gordon at the front of the order. 2nd, 3rd, 4th going through. 5th and 6th are Little Al and Fernandez just behind.
Remember 2 hours ago when this race started, Gordon starting from the pole, beginning to fall back to be picked off by one car after another. How he has now dialed the setup in at just the right moment. Now he's the fastest.
If they can, where will they make their move? Vassar trying to hold off Pruitt. Michael Andretti sitting there waiting, looking for his opening. Again, comes a little bit offline. Robbie Gordon making the final set of turns now. And Scott Pruitt climbing right on the back end of Vassar. Michael Andretti closing on Pruitt.
If the pressure doesn't get to them, they just won't make any mistakes.
A final shot down Sunset.
Oh, Michael sliding out. Here he comes. No, looking, no.
Again, he took a look, decided on the same line in through the corner. Here comes Robbie Gordon. Checkered flag lies just ahead. Will anybody else make a move? They make that final bend, and the checkered flag for Robbie Gordon. Vassar is 2nd, Pruitt is 3rd, Michael Andretti is 4th. Alonso Jr. comes across in 5th, and Adrian Fernandez finishes in 6th, 1st through 6th, right through the order. And now Robbie Gordon has managed to split his wins. 1 on an oval, 1 on a road course. I told you he'd be a guy to watch. Walker Racing, boy, they're happy with that one. I don't think Ganassi is really unhappy with that 2nd place. What a great run for Jimmy.
How about Adrian Fernandez? He really did a good job today. Kept his nose out of trouble, and it was competitive. Worked it hard.
Boy, they all did. What a tremendous run, Jack Arute.
Well, Derek Walker accepting the congratulations of your entire crew.
Well,
how close was the call on the fuel, Derek?
Well, it was damn close. We were right on the limit, and that's what a good team does. We did the calculations, and it worked out perfect.
Now, early on in the race, the car dropped off. What was Robbie telling you?
He was pushing real bad, and we did some adjustments in the stop, but it wasn't quite fast enough, so it was really a fuel run at the end, and he did the best he could.
Well, let's go to victory lane.
Thanks.
So as Derek Walker heads off to celebrate to join his driver, Robbie Gordon, who has scored the 3rd win for Walker Racing, and Robbie Gordon's 2nd. First pole-to-pole win since Tracy at Laguna Seca last year. We'll be back and talk with the competitors and our winner, Robbie Gordon.
Well, what a race for Robbie Gordon to win, and after all the Canadian and Brazilian hype of the last few months, it's an All-American, even an All-Californian 1-2-3 here at Detroit. What a race. Well, Robbie Gordon heading for victory lane now, winning $105,000 Marlboro pole bonus on top of the $10,000 pole award he gets as the first driver to win from pole position this year. No pole sitter, in fact, has finished above 4th place this year. That's how it's been. Jimmy Vassar, what a great day for him as well. His best ever IndyCar result. Jimmy Vasser finishing 8th in Miami this year, 9th in Milwaukee. Previously, his best ever finish, 3rd in Surfers Paradise in 1993. Now he's done it, 2nd place. Well, Gordon's team's there. Derek Walker congratulating him. It's Robbie Gordon's 2nd win, but Indianapolis team owner Derek Walker's 3rd win, having taken Scott Goodyear to victory in 1992 under team manager Dick Caron. Well, there's Jimmy Vasser getting out of the car, getting the plaudits of his team as well. Everyone absolutely delighted about this 1-2-3 for the Americans.
Good job, man.
Robbie Gordon really on top of the world now. His 2nd win, as you heard Sam Posey saying. He's split his wins, one between an oval, now one on this very, very demanding street course. But what a race. Those 7 cars battling for the lead right through to the finish. And it's been an incredible race the whole way through. Split up, yes, by some yellow flag periods. So here's the results then, unofficially, but I think it's official now. You saw Robbie Gordon confirmed there as winner from Jimmy Vasser. Scott Pruitt for Patrick Racing Lola. And finishing in 4th, Michael Andretti, still no win. The 91 champion really searching for that success. And right down through the field, Bobby Rahal, Eddie Cheever, Alessandro Zampredi, Brian Herter and Raul Bazell, the man who didn't start the race, classified last.
Well, Robbie Gordon getting the congratulations of his crew. Robbie, tell us, though, what was wrong with the car to begin with? Your car owner, Derek Walker, said it had a real bad push.
Well, the deal was Goodyear had an option tire, which was a little harder, and we knew about 10 laps in the race we were going to be big trouble, and that's exactly what we were in. I mean, they were going by me like I was standing still, and you know, I just got to give credit to Derek and the whole crew. These guys just did a great job, including Ron, the guy that did the fuel. I mean, he just did a number on it today.
Let's talk about the fuel for a second. You knew it was going to be close. They kept talking back and forth, go to 98%, go back to 96%. You really got to put a lot of trust in that crew.
Maybe even a little lower than that. You know, these guys were just great. You know, we were running on fumes at the end, but they made the call. It's twice this year that we've won races by fuel mileage, and you know, the whole crew. Derek made a great call on saying pit at that one accident. It put us in front of the guys, and we just held it there. You know, Jimmy was catching me a little bit, but we just kept enough cushion between us to stay on our tires.
Now, Jack Villeneuve did not have a great day. Questionable whether he even finished in the top 10. You said at Milwaukee after the race that you were going for the points championship this year. How do you feel about it now?
We're ecstatic. You know, I don't know if we led the most laps or not, but if we did, that's another point. You know, we qualified on the pole, that's a point, and then the 20 for the win. So we should be real close to Jock right now in the championship. It's going to be great.
Well, it's also the first time, Paul, that a winner has started on the pole and gone to victory lane since Paul Tracy did it all the way back at the last race last year in Laguna Seca. Let's check in with the 2nd place finisher in Lynn St. James.
Okay, we're here with a very jubilant crew, I'll tell you. Jimmy Vasser, you know, I think it was racing at its best. And, you know, you're fit, you don't look tired, but you gave it everything you had.
Yeah, you know, it was all I could do to just stay with Robbie or try to catch up to him a little bit once in a while if he pulled out. So, you know, making a pass or something like that would have been on this track very, very difficult. So I just tried to do everything the same lap when I noticed that Pruitt couldn't overtake me and I could stay where I was and maybe just perhaps wait for Robbie to make a mistake, and he didn't. But we're real happy to finish 2nd with the Target STP car.
I think this is your highest finish at IndyCar racing. It was really perfection. It seemed flawless to me for the top probably 8 or 10 cars.
Well, yeah, the team did a great job on the car. You know, the Chip Ganassi Target team has worked really hard all season long. We've had a good race car. We just unfortunately had some mechanical failures on a few races where we should have been in the same position, I think, and it just feels good to finish.
Well, now we've got a coach. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. This is a great birthday present, I'll tell you. It's not a better way to do it than to see him up there.
Racing at its best, huh?
Oh, it definitely is. You know, this is being this close, and for me, it's getting back into the excitement. I'll tell you what, took a ride in the pace car down with the cars getting going, and I got the chills going down in the back straightaway, seeing these guys go by. I knew it was going to be a good day.
Well, there's confirmation of those results. Robbie Gordon from Jimmy Vasser, Scott Pruitt, the Sacramento driver, the man who finished 3rd at Surfers Paradise this year. Now he's finished 3rd in Detroit, but still hasn't beaten his best result ever, which was 2nd also at Detroit in '89. Paul Tracy, Jacques Villeneuve finishing 10th there, and 9th, and Emerson Fittipaldi in 10th. So all the stars really falling today as these 3 young guys showed them the way round Detroit here Well, what a great race. Those last 20 laps, well, that was really something. I'm sure many people are going to remember this race for a long time, especially all of you who've been watching on Eurosport tonight. So poor old Michael Andretti, still no win. The 91 champion still looking for it. Emerson Fittipaldi won at Nazareth this year. He's still looking for another win. Alanza Jr., Long Beach winner. He's looking for one. And Paul Tracy, Jacques Villeneuve, both double winners, really out of it. So this has been Detroit. And thank you to all our commentary team. That is to Sam Posey, to Bobby Unser, and to Paul Page, and of course from me, Mark Cole. Hope you're going to stay with us on Eurosport for IndyCar Formula One. We'll see you soon.